What is happening to Christians around the world right now?
Christianity is the most persecuted religion all around the world.
Easter Sunday attacks which have left 290 people dead and 500 others injured.
Christians in the world are the most persecuted faith group that there is.
Christians in the West are now experiencing just a small taste of what their brothers and sisters living in restricted countries have experienced for years.
Do you remember COVID-19? Did you know that millions of churches were forced to close their doors while strip clubs and casinos were allowed to stay open? When people think of persecution, they probably think about the insane, violent things that happen to Christians in the Bible, or the fact that people are literally killed for professing the name of Jesus in other countries. But persecution takes many forms, and it is alive and well here in America. It's disguised in many ways, whether it be increasing sensitivity or inviting an open exchange of ideas. The woke media of today is completely against persecuting anyone based on their religion. Oh, yeah, unless they're a Christian. Business owners are losing their livelihoods, teachers are being blackballed from their passions, and students are being told what they can think. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's at risk. The first way that woke media negatively affects the Christian people is by burying the persecution that is so ruthlessly happening in other countries. You may not think that's a terribly big deal, but the fact that this type of persecution can happen in other places shows that there is a possibility of it happening here. Take the event that you most likely didn't know about that happened in 2019. Hundreds of people were gathered in Sri Lanka for one of the holiest days on the calendar, Easter. In a celebration filled with joy, gratitude, and love, 3 bombs were dispatched, mercilessly ending the lives of 300 people. Although it received considerable media coverage, it was labeled as a malicious attack on the people of Sri Lanka, failing to add any qualifiers to the event, that this was an attack on a celebration of Christianity. This was an attack against those of Christian faith. It seems as though Christians are overlooked as a legitimate people group that is at risk in other countries. Media coverage was electrified when mosques were attacked, crying out to stand with the Muslim people, but why doesn't this happen for Christians? Where was the media coverage when Christian symbols were destroyed, when Catholic priests and congregates were killed in West Africa, or when genocide is continually committed against Christians in Iraq? The notion is that European people have been in charge for centuries, and because of that fact, they couldn't possibly be at risk. Wasn't it European Catholics that killed homosexuals? Wasn't it Europeans that committed heinous crimes against other races or religions in the name of the Lord? While there have been many crimes committed wrongfully in God's name, it seems awfully hypocritical to use it as a reason not to feel empathy for the extreme malice that Christians are experiencing across the globe. Would it not be wrong to say that all Muslims are terrorists? Would it not be wrong to say all Chinese people are communists? Why then are Christians called cult leaders and intolerant bigots? And why is the persecution being ignored? It is a slippery slope, with danger of this type of crime transferring to our own backyard. Though not as violent, Christians do experience persecution in America. The fight for basic rights from Christians is deemed as prejudiced and cancel-worthy. There have been so many instances where Christian business owners have fought tooth and nail to have the same entrepreneurial rights as anyone else, without being told who they can and cannot do business with. Let's look at a few examples. A lawsuit was brought against Christian florist Baronelle Stutzman for choosing not to design and arrange the floral arrangements for a friend's wedding when it contradicted her religious beliefs. Now, if Baronelle had slandered her friend, calling him disgusting names, saying he was going straight to hell and would never experience the love of God, maybe a case could be made. But this is not what happened. Instead of this, Baronelle gently recommended other florists that her friend could use for his wedding. According to her, the intention was never to judge, hurt, or persecute him, but to simply hold on to her own deeply personal religious morals. She even reported that they hugged at the end of the conversation. Baronelle never expected what would come of that conversation. She was bombarded with lawsuits, forcing her to either promise to do the floral arrangements or lose all financial standing that she had. She says, "I was threatened with the loss of my home, my business, and my life savings. Instead of choosing to fight her case that violated her right to refuse service as a business, she reached a settlement in the case and retired, giving up her calling as a floral artist." Her thoughts on the situation are, "I pray that God will give you the freedom of your conscience, protect your right to make your own choices, whatever they may be, and give us all grace to be patient, forgiving, and respectful of each other." If you ask me, that sounds like a spiteful, wrathful, and just plain hateful woman. She definitely deserved to lose her business, livelihood, and reputation because of her decision to amicably act on her own conscience. Hopefully you can sense the sarcasm there. Fortunately, Baronelle Stutzman is enjoying her retirement with her husband Daryl despite the unrelenting hatred she faced. The way that she reacted in such a frustrating situation is an amazing example of God's love, as shown in Matthew 5:44. "But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." We can all take a lesson from Baronelle. Woke media has also persecuted Christians for praying in public. Coach Joe Kennedy knows what that's like firsthand. Joe Kennedy loved his job as a high school football coach. He rejoiced in every victory and supported his team in every failure. Although he never shared his personal beliefs with his students, he would go onto the field after every football game and pray by himself. When some students saw him doing this, they decided to join him in his prayers. Working in the school system as a teacher is extremely tricky due to the country's laws on separation of church and state. Most teachers know that they cannot talk about their personal religious or political beliefs within schools. According to Joe, he never did. He never forced kids to pray with him, nor did he ever ask them to. They simply joined him when they witnessed his show of humble, quiet, personal faith. When school administrators saw this, they threatened to terminate his contract, saying that he was coercing students into adopting his religious beliefs. When Kennedy failed to see an issue with his practices, knowing that it did not violate any code of ethics or school policies, he continued his prayers. He was fired in retaliation. Kennedy knew that his personal rights were being violated and that he was being blatantly persecuted for his beliefs. He wanted to stand up for the injustice he was facing by appealing to the court for violation of his First Amendment rights. After a long and grueling court battle, it was finally found that here a government entity sought to punish an individual for engaging in a brief, quiet, personal religious observance doubly protected by the free exercise and free speech clauses of the First Amendment. The Constitution neither mandates nor tolerates that kind of discrimination. It was true. Kennedy never violated any policies or code of ethics which states that a teacher cannot publicly declare religious affiliation as a representative of the school. That basically means that Kennedy can't stand up at a school conference and say, "Hey guys, I'm a Christian and this is the church that I go to. I think you should go too." Kennedy never did that, and more so, never even prayed publicly during the games. He did this in the solitude of his heart and his relationship with God. I'm happy that Joe Kennedy was able to stand against the injustice he was experiencing, and that more so he received a positive outcome. Other people are not so lucky. The primary and secondary education system continues to be a place of strict policies regarding religious expression, but many kids hope they can escape that once they reach college. I mean, colleges are meant to be the open, free exchange of ideas, right? Why wouldn't that include religious ones, or more specifically, Christian ones? College campuses across the map are implementing more and more policies that discriminate against religious clubs on campus. Take San Diego State University, for example. San Diego State University's policy for clubs and organizations on campus are that as long as the club is approved and recognized by the college, that they can exclude or dismiss anyone whose views do not align with the club's mission. For example, if there is a recycling club on campus, they would obviously exclude or dismiss anyone in the club that didn't think recycling was important. Or if a vegan tried to join a hunting club, they most likely wouldn't make the cut. The same holds true for a Buddhist club or a Muslim organization. However, a Christian club on campus is facing disciplinary action from the school because of their, quote, discriminatory practices. According to the school, the organization must allow people of all religions to join their club. Seems counterintuitive, right? It's not discriminatory for a hunting club to exclude a vegan, but it's definitely cancel-worthy for a Christian club to exclude an atheist. Oh, make it make sense. Unfortunately, this is all traced back to woke media. It seems as though Christians are deserving of persecution because of their assumed, quote, hatred towards everyone else. News outlets are plastered with the notion that Christians are dangerous, bigoted, and ready to march a crusade across the country to attack anyone that doesn't believe in God or vote for Donald Trump. The media puts forth the idea that Christians use their faith as a shadow term to blanket racism, offensiveness, and segregation. This is a saddening message, and the even sadder part is that people believe it. This type of message has catapulted the persecution of that humble Christian lady that just wants to design floral arrangements, or the compassionate football coach who wants the freedom to pray on his own accord. I'll admit, there are people out there who claim to be Christians, but definitely don't show it very well. But one does not mean all, and it seems permissible to attack an entire group of people because of it. So, what do we do? The only thing we can do is continue to follow Jesus, listen to our convictions, and lovingly fight for everyone's right to mutual respect. If we do this, my only hope is that we can slowly change the narrative, or at least say a prayer at a football game.